flowers on the stage.
In order to actually inspire anyone to want to follow whatever you're doing as a leader, you have to set the tone and set the example. And I've heard it said that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Um, so it really comes through that that lens. It's like, what is the energy that you're bringing to this? Like, um, what are what are you doing that's not expected of you? I think um, you have to be able to like lead by example, and I think all the best leaders in my life are those kinds of people um, that you can really feel that like it doesn't feel rote or like it's just going with the punches. Like whether you know you're in a position of leadership doesn't necessarily make you like a leader just because you have people like beneath you, so to speak. A good leader, I think, should be able to lead people that are, you know, in the case of my band, it's like we're all equals, like no one's anyone's boss per se. And so being able to have those times where, you pass the rock around of who's like leading something. So um, it's important to be able to be both like a good leader and a good listener. I think a good leader listens a lot too, to hear what's needed and being able to create an environment to make make sure that the people they're trying to lead, like you understand those needs and how to, um, you know, get on a broader level beyond the band, like get people what get people what they want. Quickest way to get what you want is through helping other people get what they want, which is a simple concept, but very, not necessarily an easy thing to achieve. But yeah, I think about that stuff a lot. I think all the books that I have are just like leadership books, and you know, I don't know. I'm taking recommendations for fiction because I don't all I read anything I read about or like try and digest is usually like self-help and leadership and those kinds of things.
Yeah, so then what else comes to mind?
As far as like leadership
Yeah,
goes,
like what else is most important when it comes to being a great leader? What else in addition to what you said?
um, hmm, I think towards being a great leader, um, you have to work with conviction. You have to have a very focused intent towards what you're doing. Um, be willing to adapt, but not try and waver in the face of um, like any sort of criticisms or obstacles, and just be really confident in the thing that you have to have like a vision for it. Um, you have to know like what you're working towards. You not necessarily like know exactly how it's going to happen, but know like what you want it to look like. And then the fun part about that is then like you get to have that discovery process of being like, this is what I'm dreaming of, and this is where I am now. And so the path, no one really ever knows the path. You're going to try so much stuff along the way. Um, and just so long as you feel like the things you're trying align with your vision, then even if it didn't work out, then you learn from that. And I would say the best like leaders or the people that are leading, whether it's other people or just like leading their own lives successfully, have to be really comfortable with failure. Um, and not because like you necessarily like to fail, but that you embrace failure as a necessary step in success, that like the amount that you're able to succeed is equal to your ability to fail and learn from failures. And like without that, like you know, you're the worst thing you can do is not learn from your failures and um, because otherwise they were just for nothing. If you don't learn from your mistakes, then that's it's a shame because there's a beautiful lesson in there. But if you could just get stifled by the fact that you failed, then that's all it will be. All it will be was a failure, and it's not going to be like um, this like setup. Um, I heard it said a setback is just a setup for a comeback. And so I think, maybe these are just things like that you got to tell yourself, whether it's just like to cope with that kind of thing, but to be able to have, yeah, like have like that perspective, like almost like trick yourself into a certain perspective sometimes. Um, and I love, I, I know that I'm a leader in many ways in my life. I work with a lot of people that are leaders in their of myself in their lives. And I think everybody has the capacity to be a good leader. Um, it's just about like allowing yourself to like do that.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
I love it. You bring up personal development and being into those kinds of books and working on yourself. Like what does growth look like for you right now? Like what are you focused on?
Consistency is the first word that comes to mind. Um, I
Consistency with what?
consistency in like of effort of just like trying to trying every day to make um, like efforts towards making my relationship with my partner better, making my relationship with my family better, with my bandmates better, um, with myself better. Um, and whether that's like it's kind of just like understanding like um, the next what's the next right thing to do and trying to just do that thing. Um, and then be able to kind of like look back at a period of time and be able to see like the growth. It's like really hard or challenging in the moment to see like when things have changed, especially like on the day to day. It's like feels like you could be stuck in the same rut and then like being able to have the perspective of being like, well, if this was a year ago, I would have handled this a different way. And um, like I yeah, as far as, personal growth goes, I think that like I go to therapy, like I just started like a new relationship with a new therapist like recently, or it's like I really like want to get ahead of stuff. And I don't necessarily want like life to like catch up to me. Um, I find I can be guilty of being more reactive than proactive, and so I don't want that to be like, to get the better of me. And so yeah, just I get really excited by that kind of stuff and I feel like it's through like it's through the consistency of it. I mean, like I'm certainly no expert, but it's like this book, I swear by this book. It's just sitting next to
Mhm.
me by Dale Carnegie. I don't know if you ever heard of this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's like a Bible. It's like was written like in the early 1900s when people like definitely didn't have the same like pleasantries necessarily about them. I feel like there's so many like fundamental like simple things that like when you read it, you're like, well, duh. Like, of course, like the best thing to do when you're talking to somebody is just to smile and say their name. And it's like there are these like little simple things, but it's like then you do it and you're like, wow, like I had that power the whole time. And then like so reading it and it says in that book, it's like you can't just pick this book up once and read it and like it's like a handbook. It's like you got to go back and like keep reminding yourself of these things. It's like knowledge that's not being used gets lost. It's like, so unless you're like making stuff a practice and like reminding yourself of like good behavior essentially, that it's easy to like forget it. I'm really good at being like, I'm gonna start doing, I'm gonna start stretching every day or meditating every day and like doing it for like 2 days. I'm really good at 2 days, the 2 day diet or whatever. But I think that like being able to just like be constantly communicating, like something I love about my band is like we talk about like our feelings and how things are going, and we'll like after a show like sometimes do like rose, thorn, and seed, like and it's like through the communication that the relationships are formed and broadened, and it's through like talking about like like being reminded of simple things. um I call this like hotline like every day, called the success hotline. Have you ever heard of this? It's this guy. He's probably like this like 80-year-old professor from New Jersey, and every day he leaves, it's like you call into like a voicemail basically, and there's like a 3 to 5 minute like story or just like you know piece of just like really good like career, business, relationship like advice. Um, like like and I find it always like totally
It's
creep.
called what?
The success hotline.
The Success
I'll
Hotline.
send you the number after this because I
Okay.
love it, and like I've been like call like he's there are some episodes like on Spotify. They're like they couldn't be shorter. You know what I mean? Like you want them all to be longer, but they're like it's always 3 to 5 minutes. It's just like like the one yesterday is like talking about like it's like and I end up regurgitating all this stuff, but just because I really resonate with it, where it's like it's like not about like it's not about like strength or smarts. It's about, you asked me what I was focused on. It was like consistency. And it was like continued effort, like will be the key to your success. Like continued effort gets you strength. It gets you smarts because you're constantly pushing towards it. Like talent alone doesn't get you anywhere, especially not in the music business. The most talented people, there's no guarantee anyone makes it in like an art form as a career. So it's like that I feel like in applying it back to like what I do, it's like, you know, if Eggy makes a record and it flops, well, it better not be the last record we ever make. Like we have to continue to keep writing and keep coming up, because once Halloween is done, there's the Purim show, and then once that's done, there's this show, and then that tour, and then there's always the next thing, and it's like, you know, kind of like how in improvised music, like you can't get too bogged down by I hit the wrong chord, or even being like I flubbed this section of the song. It's like go just get the next one, get the next section. Like don't you can't just you have to just keep trying and keep exerting that effort. And yeah, I don't know. I kind of get off on that kind of stuff where it's like I don't know. And again, simply, it's a lot of things are easier said than done, but I like the reminders. I feel like they're just like good check-ins to kind of just like even for 5 minutes a day, just like to be able to like reflect on like a really good concept about life, to be able to like check in on like that's sort of like that's like my spirituality is like through like that kind of like growth and stuff.
What do you think are some of the most defining characteristics, from your inside perspective of the other guys in Nike?
The defining characteristics. Well, I think all of us have a very
Or
unique.
forget I said defining characteristics. Like, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Um, I'd say because this is flowers on the stage, so I'm here to give everyone their flowers. For Jake, um, he has the most ideas out of anyone I've ever met. Um, like I like to think I have a lot of ideas. Like he's always thinking about the band and thinking about music and has just such like a creative mind and has a very tasteful creativity as well. I think that his like role in the band as like the guitar player, like, and I think this happens in a lot of bands with the guitar player is like they're sort of like the conduit for the audience and like Jake has like such a great like pulse on what's going on at all times. Like he's he can sense the pulse of the band, he can sense the pulse of the room and knows how to like I like to say he's like the quarterback. Like when we're performing, like he I would hazard to say rarely like made like a song choice or a jam idea that I was like, huh, I'm not sure about that, you know. And if I wasn't sure about it once we saw it through, I was like, that was a great fucking idea. Like, incredible, just like well of ideas and like to be in like a room with him, like trying to come up with like musical parts and ideas. It's like, you know, if you're like one, two, three, four, he's got something like by the time you get back to one, it's like very just like deep well of creativity with Jake. I would say that Alex, um, he is, it's funny, he's 29 years old and the rest of us are in our 30s. But I think that he's already in his 30s now, just by extension of being with us. So he's like really like I've gotten to uh, it's gonna sound sappy, but like I've gotten to like watch him grow. I'm a few years older than him, so like you know, coming to the ages I was and like watching him grow up, it's like Alex is like um he's like anything he like puts his mind to, he's incredibly talented at it. He's like started DJing recently, which I know is something he like used to do, but like he's like DJing and he's like very like he's like can kind of play like any instrument. Um, he has like a very like refined taste as well. And I think that he is like in our band, he hasn't like necessarily played the role of a leader quite yet. And I think part of that is just because of the nature of how he's like he was younger than us. He joined the band last. He's still the baby of the band, even though it's been 10 years that he's been in the band. Um, and I feel like he's like on like on the verge of like breaking that down, like in a sense of like I feel like there's like a well within him that he's actually yet to tap, and but he's always knocking on the door. So I feel that way is that like he's definitely one of the people that like embodies like that continued effort. He has a very curious mind. Um, he thrives in independence as well, which the rest of us having grown up together, I think we're a little codependent sometimes on one another. But you know, he grew up in Chicago, like so he's not near his family, like me, Jake, Alec, Mike, like we all live close by to home and like we have like just like a different kind of setup and he's like inherently like probably the most like independent, I think, of all of us because of that. Um, and Alex, you know, if you end up watching this, I believe in you and you're on your way, kiddo. But yeah, he's like I think that he's someone who um like he's always like hungry for the next thing. And I've been able to watch him like develop the like tools to like actually like cook, if you know what I'm saying. Like he's like I'm very excited for that man. And Mike, I think Mike and I have had um we can kill 2.5 hours driving together like it was nothing. He and I are very good at like conversation and like creating like we like play games in the van, and he's the only guy in the band that I can get to play good minor league baseball team name or bad minor league baseball team name with me. I remember a drive that it was probably like 2.5 hours, and we were like going through, it was like all the AAA teams, all the AA teams, the single A teams. When we ran out of those, we started doing like odd, like collegiate ball, like whatever team names we could find. Um, like Mike was driving, and he'd be like, "Show me the picture. Is it the Prairie Dogs?" And he's like, we'd look, and he'd check the logo, and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, like that dog's playing baseball," like whatever it was, like. And he matches my like really um it's like an odd like factual level of humor, of just like I don't know where it like comes from, but like it's like there are just like some jokes that are like Mike will like he and I will reach the same like pun or joke like it within milliseconds of each other, and it's always just like I could say something, he'd be like, "Donnie, I was like it's fucking close." Just like something so random. I couldn't even come up with an example of one, but like it happens like regularly. And like it's like such like a oddly specific thing that like only for some reason is funny to me and Mike, and it's always like we're just trying to beat each other out to like saying that thing. Um And so definitely miss having that energy in some of the um, late night van rides and stuff. So very excited to have, Mike back on the road with us.
All right, pivoting to the side a little bit. I want to talk about, being an artist different than being an accountant. Like you have to be kind of vulnerable. You have to bring your spark to it, and it's pretty obvious if you don't. And so talking about that, like whether it's songwriting or performing on stage, like what's that like for you being vulnerable and like letting go to like your own demeanor and having a spark and not trying to put on this like cool guy face or shy away from the fact that you're in the spotlight. Like, what's that like for you?
Um, there are some times when I'm playing mu music and performing that I'm like, whoa, I'm playing music and performing right now. Like where I'm like, it's like a little like out of body at times.
And I
Um,
also I also mean my question was songwriting. Like not trying to how do you manage not trying to put forward like a puffed up perception of yourself, like being some sort of cool rock star, but also not shying away from that? How do you
yeah.
balance like both also with songwriting?
Well, I think that when I that's a pretty accurate, I think, observation of us. I think that the kind of music that we play, the the spectrum of like emotion that the songs come from, I think it's like we like to get we like to get down at the show, but like there's so much of the show is not like the party that's not what it feels like to be on stage there. It feels like um, more like we're having like this human experience, and that it captures a lot more than just a good time. It's always meant to be a good time, like, but I think that, I love like the Grateful Dead, and it's like those are the guys that could play you like, dancing in the streets, and you're having like the best time boogieing, and then they'll be like, okay, now Stella Blue. And you're like, to be able to go from these like extremes of emotion and just like appreciate humanity like as a whole. That's kind of always been the like scope I think that Eggy like paints through. We're not like we're not like a we're not like a party band. We struggle with late nights because of that, you know. Um, and I feel like the like imitation, anytime I think about trying to do imitation, I think about it in the songwriting, because then it can translate to the stage. If you're like, hey, let's try and do something that White Denim would do, it's like I'll do that in the songwriting. Um, and then in turn, it can translate to like, now we're having this kind of moment on the stage. But it's hard to be anybody but myself up there because I want to give people a genuine, um, you know, experience. And I think doing like this last tour as a trio, um, being like without Mike, like it kind of, um, in some ways, like forced us to be hyper um, honest and hyper vulnerable towards being like, hey, this is, a very real situation in our lives. Like Mike has taken some time off the road to focus on his mental health. Like these aren't conversations I feel like we should, shy away from, however difficult they may be. Um, and going out and being a trio and being able to just kind of push forward, like not trying to recreate what we were doing with Mike with anybody else, and just trying to say this is the most authentic version of Eggy that we could give, and this is what anyone coming to see us deserves to see is um, it's not just to hear um, it's not just to hear the songs the way they're supposed to go or something. It's like to be able to give people as real of an experience as possible. It's what I want from, seeing an artist is, and everyone does it differently. Um, you could be a really great party act and be really good at still have give delivering that experience because that's what you feel really passionate about. Um, and I feel like the thing that I'm passionate about, that the band is passionate about, is like kind of touching on all these like different um, like emotions and different um, painting with all the colors of the wind if we can. Um, and not every night has everything, but the times that I think that the band is the most on fire is like when we're like laughing with each other, having a great time. That translates. It translates in the music, it translates the energy, um, like towards the audience. I mean, my favorite thing anyone could ever say to me afterwards is like, you just look like you guys are having such a great time up there. Um, and like going back toward the original part of our conversation with, you know, qualities of being a leader is like we're the ones that are like leading the night. Like you came to see us, like maybe, you know, maybe you're there on a date, maybe you're there with friends, maybe with these other factors that play into it. But it's like at the end of the day, like we're the ones that are setting the vibe, we're leading the ship. And so we have to bring a certain level of energy to that where it's like if we're playing a really fun song, like you gotta have fun with it. Like you'd have like if you're playing something like that's more tender, like you gotta play that with conviction and serve the moment. And so not that you have to like not that I feel ever that I need to put on a face, but I think part of it is like I want to embody what's happening. Um, and Carlos Santana says it best. He says if you don't look like it, it's not going to sound like that, man. Like you can't play. No one ever played funk music just like this. It doesn't sound as good. Um, and so, it's not like an act, but I think there is a level of needing to embody the spirit of what's happening and showing people how to you're leading their feeling. Um, like, you know, gonna take you to that place. you know.
Mm.
And I think that can be a very, deep journey. And we finished our set, the last show of the run with Mo, played a song called Tiny Miracles. It's very much like a personal growth kind of um, song, and the chorus is saying, I'll be fine. A lot of the lyrics for us have hit differently over the last 2 weeks, and we finished playing that song, and it was like I was totally choking up afterwards. Like, it was like completed um, completed a run that went into with a lot of questions and uncertainty, like going in as a trio and how is all going to go and how are people going to respond to the fact that we're doing this at all. And it was like very cathartic to and much of like a release to play like that song. And it didn't just feel like applause to be like, nice job playing the song. It was like, hey, we see you for being like genuine human beings, and like we got you. And yeah, just, choke up a little bit now, even just thinking about it, because it's like, damn, music is fucking so powerful. Like, so you can try and drop it, it's like, and to some extent it's good too. Um, never go to bed angry. It's like, don't take the stage upset if you can help it or whatever. But like, you know, we really believe in what we're saying when we're singing on stage, and the experience we're trying to, provide for people. And so, um, you know, it hits us too, all the same.
Love it. Wow. So, couple more questions for you. What do you think, like a rapid fire section kind of thing?
Sounds good.
So, as an artist, if you had to call something out, what would you say is your biggest self-doubt?
My biggest self-doubt, that whatever idea I have isn't actually a good idea.
How do you feel like is the best advice you've like your highest self would give you to navigate through that?
Um, when have you ever had an idea that you genuinely liked that wasn't actually a good idea? Like, when have you really put your mind to something and it didn't work out? And if it didn't work out, then who cares? At least you tried.
And what about you outside the music? What's your biggest self-doubt?
Um, Outside the music, biggest self-doubt. Um, that I'm not grateful enough for like the opportunities, that I have to be able to do the thing that I'm doing, or live the, you know, life that I have, or the love that I have.
What specific traits or aspects of their style, some of like the most iconic artists that are like your favorite artists that come to mind about their music, about them as people, about like, yeah, like their style, like what comes to mind as some of the most your favorite things
Relentlessness.
of who
Uh,
you can call it out?
Bruce Hornsby, um, absolute goat. Um, he's like just over the last 30, yeah, 30, almost 40 years, like continues to like reinvent himself. Um, went from having like, hit songs to like forayed into like playing with like Pat Metheny and Wayne Shorter, and um like entered like this like whole like jazz phase, and then like hits like the Americana vibe, and then does like a, full jazz record with Christian McBride and Jack DeJohnette, and then does bluegrass record with Ricky Skaggs, and like now is working with like, you know, um, like Bon Iver and Ethan Gruska, and so create is like recording albums at like, you know, with like the top like indie artists of the time. It's like, just dude like continues to like adapt and grow and like change with just like whatever he's feeling. And like, um, just is seems to never be fully like satiated, and likely will never be, and because the well of music is just so deep that it's like you'll always just find more that you like. I don't think I'm ever like gonna retire, you know. It's like so long as I can experience music in some way, it's like it's always I don't have a choice really. It's like always it's it's always there, you know. You just whether you choose to tap into it.
What else? What other artists? What other qualities?
What other qualities? Man, it's like Fish is another huge example of just being like those guys for the last 40 years, like unbelievably relentless. I know they took time off like to deal with, you know, some serious stuff with Trey, and it's like they just like continue to like one up themselves. And it's like that continued to bring it back, that continued effort to never be like, oh, well, like, look at the New Year's show we did last year. Like, that was awesome. To be like, how do I make that better? How do we, how, how do we blow people's minds even more? Like, um, I think that's just so remarkable. And it's like, it's how you can be, you know, like 60 years old and like still like playing sold out shows of like, you know, to like diehard fans. Like it's like it's like not a fit, you know, it's not a phase, mom. It's like you establish these like genuine connections with people because like you've like earned their respect and trust and curiosity to like come back. Um, I mean, you know, you see him on a Friday and then you see him the next day and it's like a different show. So it's like I feel like there's like this relentlessness. I was just talking about it today with Alex and Jake. We're like man, like they could like take time off if they wanted to. Like, why don't they? Like, but they just like keep grinding and like it's like I don't know if you like I don't know how you stop. You know, it's like you know, so long as like you feel like you're breaking new ground, which like I feel like they continue to do, and like whether it's in songwriting or like now they, you know, every tour you go see them, like they jam like a little bit differently. It like keeps, you know, it's just always going a little bit differently than it was before. You know, Trey's got a new pedal, Paige has a new keyboard. They're trying this kind of thing. It's like just being pretty determined to never be, you know, in words of Phil Lesh, like you're always just searching for the sound. It's like, you know, just keep discovering. I think that's the thing that I admire most in an artist is like their ability to continue to grow, not like rest on their laurels.
What's most important for you when it's like, okay, how do you define success for yourself on a day-to-day basis?
Success for me on a day-to-day basis. Um, did I have a vision for that day, and how close to my vision did I get? Did I learn something?
How has your relationship to your creative process changed over time?
Um, I think that I'm more aware of the situations that I thrive in. I don't bog myself down with feeling like I need to always be um, doing everything. Um, like I haven't written a lyric, probably like sat down to write lyrics in a few months, but I know that like go, when I feel like I have a window to do it, that I can jump in there and I have like a way, a method that I know is going to work for me to be fruitful. Um, and so I'm a little more forgiving of myself in the creative process.
What's something that you believe about life now that you didn't believe when you were younger?
Um, how young?
We'll call it 9.
9. Um, that um that like the energy you put out comes back to you. Like your thoughts like really are like your reality.
What if I said 17?
17, same kind of thing. I think that I didn't really like think about that. I could have probably told you that like factually that makes sense, but I don't feel like I felt that yet. I didn't like know it to be true. I just it made sense that that'd be true.
And how would you say your time you spent performing on stage just like changed you at all?
Um, I'm certainly more comfortable with the stage. Um, I've learned to be more forgiving from it. I've had more, it's given me more confidence to be able to go up and, you know, potentially blow it in front of a bunch of people. It's like makes a lot of other things a lot easier to be able to be like, oh, well, like I can get up in front of 1,000 people and play some music. Like I should be able to, you know, go talk to whoever. I don't know, like just have some more confidence in life and, um, yeah.
Last one. Any final words about what you feel like is most important with living a life that at the end of the day you can be proud of?
Living a life or living my life?
Living life.
Living life that I can look back and be proud of. So like this is like a at the end of my life looking back kind of thing, or at this moment looking back.
Yeah, at the end.
At the end, um, I would say, that I tried everything that I could have ever wanted to try, that I, gave as much effort towards life as I possibly could. Um, and I don't mean that as like I worked every single second of my life, but like, allowed myself to appreciate life. I allowed myself to, you know, to feel and to be affected by the fact that we're living and we have this, unique opportunity to just like have this crazy fucking experience and that didn't try and like hide away from it. I embraced it and, met it head on.
Thank you so much for joining me here, taking the time. Everyone who listened this far, we got links in the description. Eggy's 2-night run for Halloween at Cervantes here in Denver. And yeah, Donnie, man, shout out to you for, becoming you. And thanks for taking the time here. Appreciate you,
Oh,
man.
thanks, Cam. I appreciate you having me on.
This is Flowers on Stage.